Welcome to the Quickbooks video series, hosted by Protea Academy. Today in episode 7, we'll be looking at bank rules. The first thing to do is to click on your transaction tab on the left-hand menu. At the top, you'll see a tab called Rules. Click on this tab. As you can see, we currently don't have any bank rules set up. You can click on Create a Rule to create a new rule or on New Rule. You can also export or import rules. The gear icon shows you the settings of this page. Let's go ahead and create a new rule. Let's call this new rule FedEx. You then need to decide, are you spending money or getting money in, and whether you're going to apply to all your bank accounts or to a specific account. We then look at the conditions below. You can apply any condition or all conditions, and you can have more than one condition per rule. We're going to stick to one condition here and use the description. We're going to say contains the following. And here we're going to write federal. You can also add further conditions. Let's test the rule. As you can see, 2 transactions will fall under this rule now. At the bottom, you check which type of transaction you want to select. We will select expense for this first rule. The category is which account you want the transactions to be recorded to. For FedEx, we want it to go to shipping and postage. You can also add a split. This is where you'll then put a percentage in and how much of that should be split to which account. For the FedEx, we want everything to go to shipping, so I'm not going to have a split. Then, who do you want it recorded against? This is the vendor name. We're going to select FedEx. Over here, you can add tags. The bottom part is if you wanted to automatically process the transaction imported into your bank to a specific category. I prefer to always review the transactions and rather confirm them than let them automatically process. Let's save this first rule. As you can see, we now have a rule set up in QuickBooks. You can click here to edit, and there are other options on the drop-down menu. Let's go back to our bank now and see how the rules are being applied. We had 2 FedEx transactions in March. Over here, we can see that it's showing us that rules have been applied to these 2 transactions. If we're happy, we can confirm them. This is because we untick the automatically classify transactions tab. You still need to then confirm them. Let's look at this rent transaction. Over here, if you click on the transaction, you can go to the bottom of the tab where it says create a rule. If you click here, the same options come up. Let's call this rule rent. Again, money out, and we want it applied to all bank. Over here, though, we might be able to use another condition. Let's do the first condition as the description contains, and let's put who we receive the rent payment from as the description. Let's add a second condition in. For the amount, we can say the amount equals, and then let's put the $2,500 that it equals. When we test this rule, we see that it's not being applied correctly. That's because the tag was incorrect with the description. As we can see, now it's been applied correctly. But if we just left this in, any transaction worth $2,500 would be recorded as rent. So let's go look what the actual description was. It was rent. Let's go back now to create the rule. We fill in the same information as before. When it comes to condition, though, we'll put rent as the description as opposed to the payee. Now we can see that the rule is being applied to one transaction. We now choose our further information which has automatically populated because we created the rule through the bank review process. If we save that rule, we can now see that the rule is applied to the rent transaction. Let's create one last rule for our insurance transactions. Let's check out the bank detail which says insurance agency. Let's call this rule insurance. We know it's money out and we want it applied to all bank accounts. We know the bank said insurance agency and we know the amount was $2,000. Test the rule and we can see that this is applying to one transaction. Let's add who we want the vendor to be. We can add the new vendor if we don't already have it. Over here, we can either use this memo or add it to whatever the bank already has. Let's click the automatically classify the transaction and save this rule. When we go back to our bank, we can see that the insurance transaction has already been classified. You go to the Categorize tab, and there you'll see that our insurance transaction was automatically brought in to QuickBooks. You can undo it here if you need to. Be careful when creating bank rules. You do not want to create a rule that is vague and therefore catches more than the intended transactions and processes transactions to the incorrect accounts. Bank rules can make processes way more efficient and can save you time, especially when transactions are predictable. So just apply a sound mind when creating your bank rules. Thank you for watching the QuickBooks video series hosted by Protea Academy. In episode 8, we'll take a look at customers.